Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're exploring a deeply profound solution to a uniquely modern problem, and it's found in a truly ancient text. I mean, if you look around at our world right now, you'll see a culture that is just struggling under the weight of chronic anxiety, stress, and this constant low-level hostility. We're completely exhausted by it, right? But thousands of years ago, an incredibly concise yet absolutely monumental framework was designed to completely dismantle that exact exhaustion. Today, we're diving into the Metta, specifically the version translated from Pali by Thanissaro Bhikkhu. If you've been searching for a psychological architecture, something that connects a massive internal shift in your mindset with sweeping, tangible, real-world outcomes, this is exactly what you've been looking for. This text outlines the absolute power of goodwill. And we're not just talking about a fleeting emotion you feel when someone happens to be nice to you. We're talking about an unbreakable, engineered foundation for the human mind. Okay, let's dive into this. 11. This ancient text makes a highly specific, honestly audacious claim. In modern self-help, you know the drill, you're constantly told you need a morning routine with 50 different micro-habits, ice baths, journaling, dietary supplements, complex scheduling, just to feel a baseline of okay. Well, the Metta offers a stunning contrast through its sheer elegance. It promises exactly 11 distinct life-altering benefits. And the crazy part, all 11 of these benefits stem from mastering just one specific mental state. It's an incredibly focused return on investment. You dedicate yourself to this one single psychological framework, and the sutta outlines a guaranteed chain reaction of 11 incredible effects that literally ripple out through every single facet of your human experience. So, to actually understand these benefits, we first have to fully understand the core practice. The Buddha uses a very specific phrasing here: awareness, release through goodwill, making deep, unshakable goodwill the grounded basis of your mind. What this tells us is that goodwill, or metta, is not just about being polite. Not at all. It's an instrument of release. Think of your mind like a computer. When you hold on to resentment, anger, or even just mild annoyance, it's exactly like having dozens of heavy, hidden background applications running on your hard drive. It trains your battery, heats up the system, and slows your processing speed to an absolute crawl. Awareness released through goodwill is the act of forcefully closing all of those toxic background programs. It's the profound practice of making deep, unshakable goodwill the grounded basis of your entire awareness. By doing so, it completely frees the mind from its usual constraints, friction, and hostilities, allowing you to finally, actually operate at full capacity. But how do we actually achieve that release? Well, the text is extremely clear that this isn't some passive, accidental feeling. It has to be cultivated, developed, pursued, and handed the reins. Notice the rigorous action verbs there. Goodwill must first be cultivated, like deliberately planting a seed in the soil of your mind. Then it has to be developed, which means watering it daily, recognizing it requires real upkeep. It has to be pursued, meaning you actively choose it even when a situation totally tempts you to react with anger. But the most striking phrase in Thanissaro Bhikkhu's translation is that goodwill must ultimately be handed the reins. Think about the gravity of that metaphor for a second. When you hand the reins over to something, you're surrendering control to it. You aren't just sitting in the passenger seat experiencing goodwill. You are putting it right in the driver's seat. You're trusting it to steer your initial reactions, guide your tough decisions, and dictate your entire mental trajectory. Let's move to and see how this builds. The first pillar, rest. Once you hand the reins to goodwill, the text outlines immediate, tangible effects, starting right with our daily rest. We live in an era practically dominated by sleep aids, insomnia, and nocturnal anxiety. So it's absolutely vital to look at how these first three benefits, sleeps easily, wakes easily, and dreams no evil dreams, form a logical nightly progression to cure that modern ailment. First, one sleeps easily. The friction of an agitated mind is just gone. Second, one wakes easily. There's no heavy, lingering dread holding you back from facing the morning. And third, one dreams no evil dreams. Why does this happen? Well, when we harbor ill will or unresolved anger, our nervous system stays stuck in a subtle state of fight or flight. Cortisol runs high, and REM sleep gets constantly disrupted by a subconscious that is endlessly shadowboxing with perceived enemies. A mind anchored in goodwill naturally finds peaceful sleep, because metta acts as an ancient, incredibly effective form of nervous system regulation. Your resting state is simply reflecting the total peace of your waking state. From the deeply personal realm of sleep, the benefits expand outward. The second pillar, relationships. We move from our unconscious resting state into our waking social reality. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the fascinating contrast it draws between our human peers and the unseen world. Benefit 4 states that one is dear to human beings, and this makes intuitive sense, right? People naturally gravitate toward the charisma of genuine goodwill, but it doesn't stop there. Benefit 5 asserts that one is also dear to non-human beings, and Benefit 6 promises that the devas protect one. Now, whether you view devas literally as supernatural guardian entities or metaphorically as the unseen serendipity, harmony, and good luck that just seems to effortlessly follow genuinely kind people, the core insight is exactly the same. When you purge your mind of hostility, you completely cease to be at war with your environment. You harmonize with the world so deeply that reality itself seems to rise up to protect and support you. We've covered rest and relationships, but the text now shifts into something pretty surprising. The third pillar, fortitude. Moving way beyond mere social harmony, goodwill literally becomes a shield. Benefit 7 is incredibly striking. Neither fire, poison, nor weapons can touch one. That is an intense claim, but modern readers often stumble over. Why on earth would an ancient text attribute literal physical immunity to a mental state? Well, we can look at this through two lenses. On a very practical level, a person radiating absolute, unshakable peace acts as an intense de-escalator. They frequently diffuse violent or dangerous situations before weapons are ever even drawn, simply through the commanding presence of their goodwill. On a metaphorical level, think of the toxic people in your life as poison, and inflammatory, stressful situations as fire. When your mind is completely secured by metta, that external toxicity simply cannot penetrate you. You literally become psychologically invincible to the damage that normally destroys others. And this brilliantly illustrates the next two benefits. The mind gains concentration quickly, and one's complexion is bright. This psychological invincibility is perfectly coupled with profound inner and outer clarity. Without the constant static of hatred, jealousy, or anxiety competing for your attention, dropping into a deep flow state of focus becomes nearly instantaneous. And then, Benefit 9 states that your complexion is actually bright. Look, this isn't magic, it's biology. Modern medicine shows us exactly how stress, anger, and cortisol physically age the skin, causing inflammation and dullness. Conversely, a state of deep peace drastically reduces that inflammatory load. The internal purity of the mind literally rejuvenates the body, radiating outward and visibly brightening your physical appearance. We now move from the daily realities of life, sleeping, interacting, and physical well-being, to the absolute ultimate stakes of human existence. The final pillar, ultimate destiny. So the crucial point is the profound weight of the 10th benefit. One dies unconfused. So much of human anxiety is deeply, deeply tied to the subconscious fear of death. For so many, the end of life is accompanied by panic, clinging, and a storm of regret over unresolved conflicts and bitter grievances. But a mind that has handed the reins to goodwill, it carries zero psychological baggage. It's left absolutely nothing unsaid and holds no toxic debts. Because of this lifelong practice of letting go, such a person does not meet death with a cloud of confusion or terror. They meet that ultimate transition with the exact same total clarity and peace that characterized their waking life. Finally, we reach the cosmic scale of the 11th benefit, the Brahma worlds. The Sutta states that if one is penetrating no higher, which basically means if this person doesn't manage to achieve full, complete spiritual enlightenment in this lifetime, their unwavering goodwill still guarantees them passage to the Brahma worlds. This is effectively the ultimate spiritual failsafe. Achieving total enlightenment is historically and incredibly difficult, but this framework offers a safety net. If you peak right here, simply by maintaining an unbroken baseline of goodwill, your absolute worst-case scenario is a rebirth in a highly elevated state of divine peace. We have just walked through an absolutely extraordinary progression. Just think about the sheer elegance of this ancient formula. Peaceful, restorative sleep, deep social harmony, an almost invincible psychological fortitude, a vibrant physical vitality, and an unconfused, elevated ultimate destiny. 11 remarkable life-altering benefits that all hinge entirely on mastering one single focused choice. So the question this ancient wisdom leaves us with is deeply personal. Look at your own mind right now. Look at what is actually driving your reactions today. Are you ready to hand the reins to goodwill?